Ghosts in Us contains serious and sometimes disturbing events and is not suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. And there is the very distinct shape
really
of a
dark
man.
figure that was standing in the doorway.
I'm living an episode of Kindred Spirits right now.
And I just want them to tell me their stories.
So he thinks the life was sacrificed for the spell.
It had the crying boy painting.
Something demonic that was mocking me.
Are you kidding?
It was completely involuntary, but I started crying. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Ghosts in Us podcast. Today, I have my good friend, Kaylee Tomchek here, all the way from New Orleans, baby.
Hi.
So, you wanted to be on the show for a while. We and I, we had talked about it for a while, at least. We were supposed to do one, is that September? Last time you were home?
Summer, yeah. Yeah, we were trying to do
one somewhere in there. But just schedules didn't line up. But here you are. So
I'm here.
Thanks to the Manitowoc Public Library. Thanks for hosting this. Not
thanks
sponsor. Franklin Street Room. We had a fire truck or something go by, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. Anyway, tell me, what's the story you want to share today?
So I have a few.
Okay.
First of all, when I was 10, my family bought a creepy old farmhouse in the country in like Kossuth or Francis Creek, whatever you want to call it. I think the house was built in the very late 1800s. Much of it was original to the house, hadn't been changed much. And when we moved in, there was a little family, like a family of some children that had moved out, and they warned me when we crossed paths. They're like, the house is very haunted. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, tell me more. And I remember the little boy said that in a downstairs bedroom, which was his bedroom, he was always waking up in the middle of the night and seeing this black figure of like a man standing at the end of his bed. So he was telling me, look out for that. I hated this house. And I was like, cool. This is what my parents just purchased. But upon moving in, when we were helping doing remodeling and whatnot, me and my sister went to the bathroom together because we were still kind of scared of the house. And we were inside the bathroom, and we suddenly started hearing very heavy footsteps walking through the hallway where the bathroom was. So we called out to our parents and we're like, hey, like, is someone out there? No one responded. And then we heard heavy breathing on the other side of the door. And I was like, do we open the door or do we just stay in here? And so I grabbed the door and flung it open. There was nobody there. So we freaked out and left the house and told our parents. And they were like, well, you're just kids. And those kids that moved out told you it was haunted. So you're probably just, hearing things.
Right.
There was an old barn that has now been since knocked down. But every time we were in there, we would hear whispering. It was always like there was someone whispering. There was someone behind us. And it felt threatening. In some cases, like outside, I felt unsafe when I would hear someone whispering, and there was never anyone around again. We found out that the farmer who owned it before the family that left had slaughtered several hundreds of pigs in the basement and was hanging them up by like the meat hooks. I think 2 or 3 people had died in the house. I don't know how or why, but we just had so many experiences. I had several instances of waking up in the middle of the night in my bedroom and seeing someone like standing in the doorway. And I ignored it because I just thought like, it's probably, a coat or something, but
Right.
It happened so many times. It was hard to debunk it after a while. As far as the house, my mom still lives there. I still feel like there's someone there, but it's not necessarily something that's trying to get us out of the house by any means. It just feels like somebody wants you to know that they're there. And then I had another one where I was very obsessed with watching the old Discovery Channel show, A Haunting.
Yeah.
You've seen that one?
Yeah.
That one actually did a really good job scaring me. And there was one episode where these teenagers went to Dartford Cemetery in like Green Lake, Wisconsin, and they wanted to test this theory that this mausoleum was haunted or that the cemetery itself was haunted. So I went And I went with someone I was dating at the time, and there was a Native American chief that drowned near there, that was buried there, and people were putting like coins and things there as a sign of respect. So I put my pocket change there, and as we were walking away, I heard footsteps very loud in the grass behind me, behind us. So I was like, stop walking. And he stopped walking, and they continued. And I was like, there's no one around. It's just this tiny little cemetery. There's woods on the other side, like either side of it. No one's in the woods. There's no twigs snapping or anything like that. It was grass, and it was right behind us. And we just continued walking, and then I heard it again, and I stopped him, and it continued for a few seconds before stopping right behind us. And I'm like, okay, we really had it. We got to go. Because it just felt creepy. It felt like somebody was just right behind us, and it was something that's not like a sound you can mistake for anything else. So it was creepy. It was cool, but it was creepy. And now that I've moved to New Orleans, the hotel that I worked at for a year while I was there, or while I'm still there, but they built that hotel or house in 1839. It has so many ghost stories. There's apparitions that show up everywhere. I befriended some guests and went into their room with them, and they were using like an EVP, and also a spirit box. And the spirit box just kept coming through with words like hate, hell, leave, like anger, and it felt very heavy in the room. I brought one of the hotel cats in there with me, and he tried desperately to leave the room. So I think every guest that would stay there that would hear about hauntings would ask me, is it haunted? And I'm like, do you want it to be? Yeah. I mean, like, yes, but not everybody experiences that.
Right.
Again, never anything like so blatantly obvious that I saw cross my path or anything. It was just always these feelings and this heaviness in the air. There was a 4th floor that only has 5 rooms. And every time I go up there, I feel lightheaded. I feel sick. I feel cold, and I feel like I shouldn't be up there. And I don't know why. It was the old attic. So I'm not sure the history of the use of the attic or anything, but it feels like a very heavy space. And I'm trying to think of other ones I've had in New Orleans already. In my house now, my apartment now, the history behind it is that it used to be a carriage house where like the rich family would park the horse and everything. And the guy who lived in it before me, his mother was a spy that would seduce Nazis and bring them to her house and kill them.
Okay.
So she would bring them there under the guise of wanting to have a little sexy time, kill them, and then take something from them as like memorabilia. So she kept medals, she kept guns, she kept boots, like pieces of clothing, and she hung them all in this house that I live in now on the wall as like her little gallery. So
that's so off the cuff, like so weird.
I think she's a role model, to be honest. But
all right.
I love her. I love that energy, using her sexiness as a way to kill Nazis. I think that's great.
No. First of all, Nazis are bad, but
with moving in, all my neighbors knew this, and they're like, that place is probably haunted as shit. Like, we want updates. And I was like, why? What happened? And they're like, well, the son kept all of the stuff that the mother had hoarded over the years and put it on the walls, kept it there, obtained more like World War II memorabilia, was putting it all on his walls. And I'm like, okay, I probably need to sage the place or something. Still haven't. But I wake up a lot in the middle of the night thinking that somebody is opening the door, coming in. I've heard breathing. I've heard doors shutting. I've thought that my cat or dog has knocked something over, and I go and search and there's nothing. And it's always in the general area where all this stuff used to be, because I've seen like the old listing photos of it. And the other night I had a really weird experience where I had sleep paralysis, and I don't usually get that. I was sleeping, woke up, knew that I was awake, like I was aware, and I start looking around and feeling like someone is on my chest, like pressing down on my neck and my chest with all their weight. So I started hyperventilating and looking around, but still couldn't move. And at the exact moment that I was able to like break out of it and sit up, a crow started cawing right on the balcony outside of my window. And I was like, what the is going on? I don't know if we're allowed to swear.
No, you can. It's fine.
Okay. But I was like, what is the significance of the crow? What was going on there? And what was just in the room with me? Because I don't get sleep paralysis.
Right. Yeah.
I was so
yeah.
aware. There's no way I was not dreaming. And when I looked at the clock, sure enough, it's 3 a.m. So I'm like, okay, 3 a.m. Something was just like on my chest, crow cause. I don't know what it was about. I looked it up later, and I know crows are actually supposed to be like messengers or protectors. So I didn't take it as like that I was in danger of the crow or by the crow. I thought maybe he was warning me or something. But since then, I've kind of been like on guard around the house because I don't know if there's something still there. I sure think that there is, but I have to go home and do some more research on the property and maybe sage it or something. Because, yeah.
So, what you've gone and you worked at a haunted hotel, live in what you claim to be a haunted house or a haunted apartment. What's the scariest thing that's happened to you?
I would say the sleep paralysis thing. Otherwise, when I was staying at the hotel, because I was a guest there before I ever worked there, I had stuff of mine go missing. Like I would be staying there and lose a hairbrush or my keys or something, and it would show up somewhere very strange later when I got back, like under the bed or like on a counter that I definitely hadn't set it on. And when I looked back, there's actually like it's not a popular TV show. There's just like this little, found it on YouTube, an episode about ghost hunting at this hotel. And a lot of the guests' experiences is losing their things and having them reappear later. I know that's a common occurrence with like hauntings. But in the hotel, I would say the creepiest thing was the 4th floor, just feeling like I'm not supposed to be up there. There's someone watching me. They don't want me there. But at home, definitely waking up and feeling like someone's trying to choke me out.
Right.
And then waking up and sitting up and the crow. Like, it just felt like too many coincidences to be non-related. But I unfortunately and fortunately don't have like this super scary story where like I almost died or anything like that.
No, and that's not what this podcast is about. It's like trying to up everybody else's story or anything like that. No, this is like telling your experiences, and that's your experience. Now, you have a podcast that you've started.
I do.
Do you want to talk about that at all? Because I mean, you kind of touch on. I know you haven't released like a lot of stuff for it at the time, but like you talk about how you want to talk about ritualistic things. Sometimes it'll mention witchcraft, religious studies, and things like that. So like, tell me more about that.
So it's called A Ritual Podcast, and in it, I want to talk to my guests about literally any subject matter that interests them the most, as long as at some point they circle back to how that topic or how that thing relates to a ritual in their life, what it means for them, what the importance or significance is in their personal or professional life. So for example, my first 3 episodes I have yet to post. One is with my brother, and he talks about abuse and addiction because he has a lot of experience with that, and how abuse and addiction can become a maladaptive ritual in your life. My second one was with a friend that does holistic health coaching and teaching. So she talked about how that, incorporating like mindfulness into her everyday routine helps her, how that's a ritual in and of itself. And then my third episode I have with a musical artist named Grace Potter.
Okay.
And she wanted to talk about haunted recording studios.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
She was kind of talking about her new album that's out this year. She's on tour, but she mentioned how many experiences she's had where she's trying to record an album or a song, and she feels like she's been contacted or messed with by ghosts of other performers that have also used that space. And it's very interesting. So ritual, I want to be able to be like a broad term. Like people can talk about, like you said, psychology, hauntings, sex, culture, magic, witchcraft, whatever they want, as long as they explain how that thing can be a ritual in their life. So that's kind of what it's about. I am being super lazy because I have things recorded just not edited and posted, but that will be out soon. I have an Instagram for it. I'm doing terribly at like marketing it.
That's okay. I'm not really good at our socials either.
It's hard.
If it weren't for Taylor, our TikTok page would have like three videos. But no,
same.
she's on top of that. So
I have to find me a Taylor because I have all these good ideas and it's hard to get them out. But I'm confident that once I get it rolling, it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
I think, and you should definitely be on it because you can talk about anything you want.
Hell yeah. Tell me time and day and we'll set it up.
You have to come to New Orleans though. That's the caveat.
Oh.
Or we can do it on Zoom, but
we'll figure it out.
I'm sure.
Started a new job, so we don't know how vacation's gonna work yet for me.
Yeah.
So, but no, we'll figure it out. Is there anything else you want to talk about? I mean, I'm open to any and all paranormal related things in your life.
I want to hear actually from you about because of people who are interested in the paranormal. I think we kind of have like an unhealthy curiosity sometimes where we hear these crazy things that happen to people. Mm-hmm. We don't necessarily wish they would happen to us, but we're curious, like, you know, could we ever witness something like that? Is there any popular or unpopular story that you've heard that you are like most interested in? Is there something that you...
So it's I don't know if it's not just one story, I guess. The things that really fascinate me the most, I grew up Catholic. I grew up, you know, going to church every Sunday. I went to a Catholic school until I was in 4th grade, and then, you know, went to public school. So like I grew up listening to the stories of heaven and hell. God created man, this other power that created man and things like that. But I don't know, you grow up questioning it because you want to understand it. But you get ridiculed for asking those questions. Mm-hmm. The thing that really intrigues me though is you hear all these stories about God's grace and things like that, but what I want to know is the other side of the coin. You hear about hell and like, you know, but like the story of demons and inflicting, you know, their damage on people. I want to try and understand where this is, because like there are different types of spirits. There's like, you know, you have your poltergeist, you have your standard spirits, things like that, residual hauntings, but like there's so many stories of different exorcisms where you have these named demons. Mm-hmm. I want to try and understand that aspect more. That's what I'm genuinely curious about. So I'm trying to find a place that has a more maleficent haunting or a malignant kind of spirit, you know, more negative. There's a couple that people have told me about. But when they explain it to me, it's just kind of like your typical, like, oh, people can get scratched. People tend to do this, or like, it's the very like, I don't want to like try and downplay it because that's not what I'm trying to do. It's the very minimalistic things of like, oh, it gave me 3 scratches. That's your calling card. Or I heard 3 knocks, or you smell sulfur, or things like that. And it just fascinates me on that aspect. So I'm trying to do more research on it. I've looked into like the demonology aspect of things. I know I'm rambling. I understand. I just don't know how this higher power can exist, but something has to be out there. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing this field of like kind of research.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The study of demons is what really intrigues me, I guess.
I think I would say that that's the same for me.
And especially New Orleans. Like, New Orleans is notoriously haunted.
Yeah, like I tell people when they say, is the hotel haunted? I always used to say the whole city is.
Yeah.
So yeah, you might get like specific hauntings in this hotel, but if you just go down the street, you could totally run into something too. There's not a building in the city that doesn't have some sort of dark history at some time.
Right.
So that is what always interests me with hauntings. Like as a kid, my mom would get freaked out and be like, if you keep watching a haunting every day, all day, you're just going to like invite stuff into the house. I'm like,
that's how my parents were too.
But that's
how my parents were too.
I was raised like Lutheran, whatever, Christian Lutheran, whatever that is. I no longer subscribe to it. So actually my relationship with the paranormal has been more interesting because I don't think that there's just good and just bad. I think like demons and negative energies do exist, but I don't think they're demons because God said so. And like, I don't believe in that. And like you said, there's some sort of other side. Otherwise this field wouldn't exist. But I don't think it's like, you know, grandpa is visiting from heaven or he's in purgatory and he can't go to heaven with God until I don't know. Like, I don't believe in that, but I do think there's a reason why people are capturing things that science can't explain and why, well, science does explain some of it, but my interest has always been in like the darker stuff. I've always wanted a Ouija board. My mom never let me have one because she's like, you're going to invite something. And she was always worried about that. But I always wanted, I was like,
I remember as a kid, remember Fleet Farm's Christmas ads?
Oh God, yeah.
Did
they have a Ouija board in there?
They had a Ouija board in there, and I circled it once. My parents go, "What do you want for Christmas?" And at 8 years old, I circled the Ouija board, and they looked at me in the face and went, "No," and I went, "Fair," and I never questioned it. Like I wasn't upset or anything, but I was just like,
I wanted one.
Hasbro is the one who distributes the Ouija board.
There was one at the hotel that was unclaimed, and I very much wanted to take it home, but then like. I don't remember why I didn't. I just was like, maybe this one's been messed around with too much. I just need like a new one. But in the same way I was like a creepy little kid, I grew up to, work at funeral homes and deal with dead bodies and all of that.
You lived above.
I lived in the funeral home.
You lived in the funeral home, yeah.
And, sad. There weren't many stories where I'm like, oh my God, this place is haunted. It surely felt like it was. I think the most creepy thing that ever happened was transporting a body and like feeling like I could hear it moaning, but that's a scientifically explained thing.
Right.
But there were times that I would go there like late at night because I had picked up someone from a home or a hospital, and I had to do all of this by myself and transport them into the temperature controlled area, do the paperwork, lock up and go home. And this was sometimes before I lived upstairs. Like I lived down the street.
Right.
And there were so many times that I thought somebody was walking around in the funeral home or like down the hall. All the lights are off except for the office light. So it's like a classic creepy scene, but nothing really happened, which was surprising. But I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes it's just the places you don't expect though.
Right.
And then when you do expect it, just nothing happens.
Or I think in the case of people who, now that I'm like not religious and more into spirituality, I think sometimes if you're waiting for something to happen, it might not. Like you might be blocking yourself from an experience without even knowing it because you're like waiting for it to happen, expecting it, and you're missing it. Like if it is happening, you're not hearing it, you're not sensing it because you are blocking it in some weird way. So I was expecting the place to be haunted the whole time I worked there. And I think if I wasn't, or if I had my guard down more, maybe I would have experienced something, but I was like on guard the whole time. So
the walls were up and you're like, got to do point A to point B, get the job done, get out of here.
Got to run outside, lock up and just like book it to my car. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no. And that's how it is. Sometimes you don't expect it. And then when you do expect something to be haunted, just don't experience anything because you're just like you have your balls up and ready. But yeah, anything else?
No, I think that's all I had.
All right. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the Ghosts in Us podcast. You can subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify and Apple. Like our TikTok page. You can follow us all at Ghosts in Us everywhere. We're on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. We have a Facebook group. You can join that where we post our stuff. You guys can feel free to ask questions, interact with people who are there. And you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, like I said. Yeah. That's my sales pitch for everybody for the day. Thank you guys so much again for listening, and we will see you next time.